Hey, what's up? It's Matt Plapp. We are back with another expert roundup from the restaurant biz. Today we have Rusty. Rusty, what's going on?
Nothing, man. Just, hanging out in my basement and talking with you. Thanks for letting me come hang out.
I'm hanging out in the car. I was hoping to be back at the office, but I got stuck talking to another heritage barbecue brand here in Cincinnati called Eli's and decided to, you know what, I'm going to have to do it from the parking lot. So I guess tell us first about you. Tell us about the podcast, and then we'll dig into a little bit about the restaurant and barbecue biz.
Sure. I grew up in Lehi, Utah. So if you've ever seen the movie Footloose with Kevin Bacon, that's the town I came from. And I got to tell you, it is exactly like it is in the movie. Nowadays, it's not like that anymore. We had a whole bunch of big tech move in. You wouldn't even recognize the place anymore. So I grew up there, and my first job was a dishwasher at Golden Corral, back when it was a steakhouse, not when it is now a buffet. And as much as I wanted to get out of the restaurant business, I really tried. And I just kept on pulling me back in. And I worked from 15 to the age of 40 in the restaurant business, doing literally everything, mostly managing in all different facets. And now running my own barbecue place. Well, food trailer specifically. Okay. I always say food truck, it's like if you're from like a big metropolitan town, but you're from a town that's just south of it, you don't ever say that town because no one knows what the hell you're talking about. So,
it's funny you say that because we had a company we hired to do an event at a CrossFit gym that I'm a partner in, and this was probably 3 years ago. And I was under the impression it was a food truck, and we had plenty of space for a food truck. Well, the lady shows up in a truck pulling a food trailer. So I went from thinking, okay, we got 25 to 30 feet to like we had like 70 feet. We had to figure out where the tri-tip mobile was going. But yeah, there's some people, there's a little difference, but not many. The place behind me, you would dig then. This is a concept that Eli's Barbecue in Cincinnati is putting together. It's 2 stories. The top part is a food hall. The bottom part is a 9 kitchen ghost kitchen / food hall. So there's 8 smaller kitchens, and it's 8 concepts, of which I think he said 4 of them are currently food trucks. And this is their bridge from food truck to brick and mortar to be able to build the brand, cater, and be able to maybe eventually move into own brick and mortar. And then Eli's has the whole back part, which is their catering division of their barbecue brand. But it's gonna be a real cool concept. It's a really cool building, and kind of bridging that gap, because I think there's a big gap for especially the barbecue. There's a gap from people going from their garage in their house to one-off ordering to food trucks to, okay, what's the next step? So you're completely food trailer, right?
Yeah, completely right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a competition trailer that we've converted into the food truck. We're still using competition.
I think I lost audio. Hold on a second. Let me do something here. Apologize. I don't know what happened. Let me turn off something. I think I had an alarm go off on my phone and it muted you. Let me get back to my phone here. Cool. There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I had an alarm going off on my phone, and I'm like, okay, you're talking, but you sound like you're making a weird noise, like maybe Wally from the movie.
I do that sometimes, just for fun. Yeah, we had a competition food trailer, and we do competition food competitions all over the United States. So we use it as both right now. So it's kind of the truck. I mean, the goal here, man, is not to be in that trailer forever. It's not the purpose. It's to get into the brick and mortar. So we're focusing really hard on, getting enough, being the mouse to get enough cats to chase us to right into a brick and mortar, and so that's what we're trying to do. We're still competing all the time. In fact, I'm heading out to Simi Valley this weekend.
Oh, nice.
And to compete there. And yeah, and then doing the food truck all around the other times. So
yeah, that's a common question I get when I travel, go to food shows, speak at events, talk to restaurateurs. Is that gap? Is that nobody wants to be in a food truck or food trailer for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's an awesome product, and it looks I say from an outsider, it looks like it would be fun for about 6 months or a year, but I would imagine it's got to be a grind. But at the same time, like you said, you got to figure out how to put people that want to follow you somewhere. And Cincinnati, we all see it locally. I've seen locally there's a place called Tom and Chi, which is a grilled cheese sandwich concept that I remember getting their grilled cheese and tomato soup on Fountain Square at ice skating. They were a tent, and then they went to a food trailer, and the next thing you know, they got 5 locations. But it's definitely a balancing act of going from that. What has been your, I guess, observation? Like, what do you see it as your biggest hurdle? Is it people following the brand to a location?
No, for me, it's the creativity aspect of it. I feel like once I get into a brick and mortar, I can do more of that. Right now, I feel like, especially with barbecue, I don't want to do too much. My brain wants to expand and do so many more things, but I don't want to do it in the confines that I have. So if I was to have a full on kitchen and let's say, cause I don't have a fryer, I don't have a flat top, I don't have a griddle. So if I want to do any kind of sandwiches or melts, of that kind, I can't do them right now. I don't want to go spend that money on it, knowing I want to get into a brick and mortar. So for me, it's really the creativity part of it. Plus, it's nice, to wake up, not for everybody, but it's nice to wake up at 5 a.m., go into your own place and just kind of cook right there. And that's where you're going to be. And, all of your numbers can be more dialed in because it is what it is. And you know it from year to year. Whereas a food truck, where are you going? Who's going to be there? It's a little bit different. So those two things, I think the consistency of guests and, expectations and planning and food costs and things like that are easily done when you're in the same place and you get that flow. And secondly, if I want to expand, do something different, maybe go crazy and open a breakfast barbecue restaurant, I can do that, but I can't do that with a food truck. So, I mean, I could, but man, I just don't want to. If I was doing it forever, maybe, but.
So I would imagine, and I don't know about where you're at, but I mean, a lot of the country, there's, I think the number I've seen is 30 to 40% of restaurants that were open this time last year are closed right now. I would imagine it's probably presented itself with some better real estate options today than it did a year ago.
Yeah, 100%. And it's different. You're no longer going to people, hey man, I work at so-and-so, there's 1,500 of us in this building. There's not a lot of that. More and more people are going from that to their homes. In fact, my brother-in-law is like the 5th person I know now where their company has just straight up said, listen, we're not going back to the office.
Wow.
So those possibilities. And now in Utah, it's kind of like you got to kind of pick your places where you can go. It's just a little bit different. There's still events, there's still food truck leagues, there's still all of that. But the big one, especially like I said, with Utah's growth right now, the big push for food trucks and food trailers was those businesses that are popping up everywhere that are now half vacant. So that's the challenge right now. Catering's a big one. That's kind of good, but not great. So, but there's still ways around everything, wherever the obstacle is the way. So you have to kind of push through and find different ways and get creative. And I've seen so much creativity during this that it's astounding in restaurants. It's been kind of crazy. It's fun to see.
What do you think is the timeline for you to take that step? Is that 6 months? Is that a year?
Yeah, honestly, it's really about getting that money in a year to be able to present to someone for a loan. Right now, we've cash flowed the whole thing, and we haven't taken a loan for anything yet. So we're not going to be able to do that for a brick and mortar. That is just not reasonable.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can have enough cash flow in and that I can present to a bank in a year that gives me what I need, so I can be more specific on, be more detailed on exactly what I want in the restaurant. Right now, I don't know if I would get everything I want. So that's the goal.
Now, is this when you travel and you go to the competitions, do you find that it's a good mix of the competitors are brick and mortar and food trucks, or is it lean one way or the other?
I think it's a split 60-40. 60% of the guys just kind of compete and then they get in the brick and mortar, and then that's just kind of where they want to stay now. Like, this is my home now. I don't want to do this. I wouldn't say, actually, I'll change that up. So 20%, they don't want to compete in case they lose. This is true. So if you have a barbecue restaurant, you're out competing in barbecue and you're not doing well, that doesn't do well for your reputation. And the rest, they'll do it no matter what. Some actually, like Slaps Barbecue in Kansas City, Joe Pierce, it's part of his thing. He competes and he runs a restaurant, and it's symbiotic, because if he does well on the competition circuit, then that bodes well for his restaurant. Fortunately for him, he's one of the top cooks in the country. So it helps him get notoriety worldwide. And that pushes a lot of attention and a lot of feet into his restaurant.
Okay. Yeah, I've always wondered that because I've heard people talk about that exact thing that, hey, we want to compete, but if you're not the best and you're last, there's a delicate balance possibly there.
Yeah. And some people that, they come out and say, hey, we're competitive cooks, and they really put a lot of time into promoting that part of it. Look at what we've won. Look at what we've done. And so they kind of want to keep that winning at just that, kind of like Peyton Manning winning the Super Bowl and calling it, like, all right, I'm on top. I'm not going to go back and show my age. So, and so with the restaurant competitors, if you've done well, it's kind of good to just leave it there. I've seen some very reputable barbecue restaurants in town who were also competitors step back out in the competition ring and not do well at all. And we're we're a pretty tight knit community here. That word gets around quickly. And I don't do this. I don't care, because I understand that competition barbecue and barbecue is so much different. There's no possible way financially you could cook the way that you do on the competition trail in the restaurants. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anywhere. But some people don't get that because they're not there. They assume the food that they're eating is the competition part of it. So, if they're not doing well and they're promoting the competition part, some people just like to rest on their laurels and not really push the envelope.
So talk about the podcast. You got a great podcast about the topic as well.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to do a podcast. I just thought it was always fun. Sitting around one day, and this guy I met on the competition trail, just, I knew him not very well, but, we hung out in competitions, text me out of the blue, say, hey man, let's start a podcast. And I'm not kidding, man. 3 days later, we had all this and we were popping, and just started getting guests that were high profile in the barbecue industry. They were very easily accessible. Some of them we knew, so it was easy. Other people, we were like, oh, we're gonna get Chris Lilly from Big Bob Gibson's, He's like, all right. I'm like, oh crap, we got Chris Lilly. It just kind of got from there, and now we just kind of have fun with it. The weekly podcast, the Pitmasters Podcast, you can get anywhere you download podcasts on. We release them on Thursday. We talk mostly about competition. We do talk a lot about just normal barbecue for the everyday person. Hopefully we kind of get, the idea is to kind of talk barbecue with everyone so everyone can listen, but at the same time kind of promote what we love, which is the competition part of barbecue. Yeah. So
is the audience more consumers? Is it more restaurateurs? Who would benefit from this conversation more?
Well, I like to have restaurateurs on. So, and Anthony, who's my co-host, he doesn't know, he doesn't care. I think he's, never even looked in the back of the house. So, he doesn't care about it. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll get those competitors that have restaurants so we can geek out a little bit. I kind of hide it, like, yeah, let's get Joe Pierce on here, and hey, Joe, so what kind of brisket you running? What's your process? This and this and this in the restaurant. So if you're a restaurateur listening to the podcast, I think it's more hobbyist than it would be. I hope to kind of do it just because it's my interest, but we really try to keep it to the backyard cook and the competition cook.
Okay, cool. Now, one question I do have, this is kind of about the podcast a little, but also more the scene. You mentioned the difference between the food at the competitions versus what's in the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And I know from a standpoint of the time and effort that goes into that competition food, I'm imagining it's not scalable in a restaurant. Is that the reasoning?
It's not even close. Let me run you through our ribs real quick. So on Wednesday, I'll get some, a store and pour, and I'll put 3 different kinds of injection into it. I'll put some maple syrup into it and a little bit of phosphates, and I'll shake that up. We'll hold on to that. So that's 3 rubs plus phosphates plus maple syrup that goes in just the injection. The injection goes in Friday night. You will season it. It's 3 seasonings. You put 1 layer, a second, and then a third. You put that into the smoker, and you're looking for a certain kind of lump charcoal that doesn't spark on you. And, lump charcoal specifically. So that's about $30 a bag. It's very specific charcoal. Plus, looking for pecan wood, cherry wood, whatever your combination is. And those are the most popular. And then you take it out to wrap it once that seasoning is set, and you put maple syrup, Mountain Dew, turbinado sugar, really high grade butter. And I'm missing one thing. Oh, Tennessee Red, which is a barbecue sauce. Put all that in it, wrap it. Okay, we're not done. Throw it back on, pull it. Then you put sauces. You put honey, barbecue sauce. Then you take an entire other 3 different kinds of seasonings, you ground them down to a powder, and you finish it as a dust. So yeah, that's the competition rib. Now, when I cook on the truck, I have my own rub. I put the rub on it. I do put the sugar, the butter, and the honey on there. That's it. So that's the difference. Rub, 3 items, rib.
So it's a lot less prep.
We call it Frankenstein food, but it's really good. I mean, it's the best rib you'll ever have in your life. But if you're super passionate and want to pay money into a restaurant, then you can probably do it.
Yeah.
Instead of take money out. I think this point is getting money. So
So if you had to say the closest type of restaurant that does have that competition to it, does that exist? I mean, I know obviously being in a food truck or trailer, like you said, you have limitations. Are there brands out there that are kind of a hybrid between it?
Yeah, I am actually. Okay. Joe Pierce is who I mentioned, Slaps Barbecue, Porky Butts Barbecue in Nebraska. They are, so what it is so that process that I told you. Now we may not put the 3 injections in it. We don't inject at all, but we will wrap it. And we will put those 3 things inside of it. So the process that the meat goes through is the exact same process that we do in competition. It's just not all of the fluff, all of the seasonings and extras.
Okay.
So the 5 things I put in the wrap in my ribs at the restaurant, I put just 3 of the cheap ones, So, but it's still a wrap and it's still the same process. But yeah, there are people who do it. Yeah.
Now, is that something that's usually an eye opener to the hardcore competitor that says, I'm gonna open my own place? I mean, I know here in Cincinnati we have a lot of craft breweries that guys started brewing from their house, made a great beer, their friends loved it, they cobbled together $100,000, and now they got a brewery.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's people out there that make amazing food at these competitions that get that mindset. Okay, I'm gonna go from competition to a brick and mortar. Is their bubble busted that they can't do what they want to do at an effective way and make money, or do they kind of know that going in?
Yeah, they kind of know it going in. I have known one person who knew it going in, did it anyway, and was open less than a year. Yeah. But it's mostly like, I'm going to do competition. And if they already do competition, man, I'm telling you, the second they open their mouth and say it, there's like 5 or 6 people who either looked into it and do it or know someone really close that does it. And they go, whoa, wait. You don't know what you're talking. You don't know what you're doing, because when you're first getting a restaurant, if you don't work in the restaurant, food costs, that's just a, you don't even know what that is. You're dreaming up all this stuff. So when you get into the restaurant and you have to buy all these products, it's kind of eye-opening. Fortunately, 99%, I would say, kind of learn right away that that's just not feasible.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, cool. Great stuff. So if somebody wants to find out about the podcast and follow you, what's the best way? What's the website for the podcast and all that good stuff?
We are the Pitmasterspodcast.com. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on the Instagram at the Pitmasters Podcast, on Facebook at the Pitmasters Podcast. We're on Twitter, though we don't post on Twitter. I think we probably should start. I don't know. I'm on Twitter all the time, but I don't post on there. But yeah, and if you want to follow, if you're from Utah or you ever come through Utah, the restaurant will be called Salt City Barbecue. You can follow me at Salt City Barbecue on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to when I make it back out to Salt Lake. I'm bummed that I was there 2 weeks ago and didn't make the connection. When I was looking at it this morning, I'm like, hold on. I know where he's at. I was just there. So I'll be out there skiing sometime in the next 12 months, and we'll have to stop, grab some food, and get to talk one-to-one.
Well, that would be great, man. That'd be awesome.
Thanks, Rusty.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too.